Hi, friends. Welcome back to our latest episode of Creating Victory podcast. When I started this podcast, I had this woman in mind because she has single-handedly transformed my life in the past, what's it been now, 6 years or so,
Years.
going on
Mhm.
7. It's been a lot of years. It was before the
5 years,
pandemic. So
2018.
you guys really want to sit down, turn off your phone, and listen to this because I am telling you from personal experience, this is how we are creating health victory. And it is
Mm.
maybe some stuff you've heard, but probably not. And really, if we're talking about transformation, I have the extraordinary honor of having Miss Wendy Johnson here today from Well Naturally Now in Florida, Singer Island. It's beautiful there. She is a very brilliant naturopath, a lot of background in kinesiology, massage therapy, I think reflexology from the chiropractic college. I'll let you share about that. 30 years in the industry. And I actually did not know, but I love that they call her Sherlock Holmes because she literally, and I have seen this happen, will figure things out in a way that I have never experienced in my health journey in 55 years. So I am so excited to have Wendy here. Thank you for joining us. I'm truly honored.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Amy. Thank you so much.
Really,
You're a ray of
guys.
sunshine, really, and so much more. A force to be
Oh,
reckoned with. Thank you. I'm
so
honored. And
share
uh,
with
and yeah, I just want to say kudos to you for all that you're doing and for doing this, for bringing information out and getting it out there. Because your journey is one that you could have kept to yourself and you chose to put yourself out there. So good for you, girl. Good for you. Proud of you.
you keep me going, literally, like literally. Trust me, I go into Wendy crying quite often and she fixes it. So share a little bit about how you ended up in this whole holistic realm, what sparked it for you, your training, like what inspired you to go on this journey of healing the world?
Thank you. Yeah, I would say it is a journey for sure, ever evolving journey. And it's a calling. It really is a calling. Something that you can't walk away from even if you wanted to, because it is a
Right?
calling. And it's an honor, really. But I think it was my mom really who got me started at a very young age, because she had many health challenges herself. She was diabetic. She would not find answers, unfortunately, in more conventional medical circles. And she was frustrated by that. And she was left alone. And back in the day, a long time ago, 50, 60
Mhm.
years ago, we didn't have what we have now. So for your younger audience, it wasn't like this. We didn't have, naturopaths and acupuncturists and chiropractors on every corner. And so I really give the credit to mom. She dug deep. She went to the library. She found books. She found people who were, I say they were country before country was cool. They
Yeah.
they knew what was going on early on. So mom took me to see Dr. Atkins back in the
Wow.
day, and I was a patient of his and learned some things from him, good and bad. And it was just a beginning there. And then from there, after high school, I went to college. Still knew what I wanted, but still wasn't finding my niche. And then decided after being in a cold environment, I was coming to Florida, and it all started falling in place. I was a former tennis pro, and after getting a little bored with that and realizing that wasn't my calling, then decided to start really digging in. And the training and the courses and the certificates and the degrees they continue to this day. I continue to learn and grow and evolve, as I said. But yeah, we'll never come to the end of understanding these marvelous, mysterious bodies. They continue to surprise us, sometimes disappoint us, but they're miraculous. And so it is my passion, my desire, my down to my core, my grit, that I am going to continue to figure out and try to do my very best to figure out how to feel better, how to push back disease and illness with every natural method and every natural remedy we can find. Because I'm grateful for, emergency medicine. I'm grateful for crisis management. Thank God that, yeah, exactly,
Have no
you
leg.
would, yeah, yeah. So thank the Lord for all of those people who are in that field and doing the tough work every day. There's a whole lot of us who aren't in a crisis, but are heading toward a crisis. You're either in a crisis or heading toward a crisis, unless you are actively taking steps to be different and to set yourself apart. In your mindset and in your journey, in your health quest. So yeah, my training is, as you said, is in many different modalities, all encompassed with one term, which is naturopathic medicine. So I'm a naturopathic practitioner with training in the body. I truly believe that structure affects function. So if the muscles aren't working properly, the vertebrae, the spine isn't working properly, it affects our organs and our glands and so on, our systems. So yeah, so I started with just learning about the body and how to help it function better, and then I went in more into nutrition and energy medicine, biofeedback, and it just keeps going from there. Now we're focusing in our practice on all of those modalities that we can manage in one place. So let me go on and explain if it's okay,
This is a
what we do
perfect
here.
segue
Good,
into the
good.
technologies. I know every time I come in, you do a bioscan. You can do a lot of that virtually now. If you're not in Florida, you can still gain the
Right.
benefit of this woman's brilliance. So, when I come in, you sit down, you test me, you ask me how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, how my head is, and then you're able to look at all the systems, which is so fascinating. So can you share kind of the modalities you use?
Sure, sure. So we're looking at the body as a whole. Anyone in natural or holistic medicine is doing that. And we're working from the emotional components, the physical, but we are evaluating here at Well Naturally, my holistic health center, which, by the way, I share with my business partner, Robin Gregorka, and the two of us have built this over, as you said, it's been probably 35, 36 years now. But yeah, here what we do is um, listen. Firstly, we want to know what's going on. We want people to be heard. We want them to know that we care, and we do deeply. And then we want to do something about that. Let's make some change. And that change doesn't just happen to a person. It requires their commitment and their devotion to doing it. It's not an easy fix. It really isn't. It's not for the faint of heart, you know. It's easier sometimes just to go have something cut out or go have
Take a pill.
a chemo or go have, the pill, exactly, the magic pill. But that's not always the best option, and not definitely not the first option. So we evaluate individuals with a number of different technologies. I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to techniques and equipment. So we're looking at both the physiology with typical chemistry like blood tests and urinalysis and saliva and that kind of thing. But then we're also looking at the body on an energetic level. And that's where it really gets cool, because we can see with these different techniques where imbalances are that will most likely lead to more serious problems. So it becomes a very early preventive kind of evaluation where I can say, you look like you have a little deficiency in this area or a little overactivity in this gland. Let's pursue that. So we use techniques, we use machines. You mentioned we have EAV technology, or we call it the bioscan. It's a biofeedback type of machine. And we're looking for meridian imbalances, energy, insufficiencies and excesses. And I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but it's been used in Chinese medicine for longer than any of us have been around. And so we're looking for energetic imbalances with the bioscan technique. You mentioned, Amy, that we can do these scans, these evaluations, even if you don't live in the area. So with a DNA sample, typically we use hair. We can run some tests just as if you were here in our presence. And then what's really fun is after running that particular test, we can design or create a custom remedy for you. So when it comes down to natural medicine and all these cool techniques, um, really customizing is key, in my opinion. And we want to get down to what that individual needs and what's best for them. So I mentioned the bioscan. We've got also something called the multi-scan. We're running even more evaluations with that. We're looking for body composition, and we're looking for nervous system response, and even skeletal system and organs and liver, and I could geek out on you and bore everybody, but that's another
I'm
technique. And then
fascinated.
that's great. I am too. And then we have the oligo scan, which is really cool. Each of these pieces of equipment comes from another country, which is interesting.
A
But then the
separate
oligo scan,
podcast.
yeah, exactly, exactly. The oligo scan is giving us tissue measurements. So, we can test blood and see where your nutrient levels are, but we can also look at the tissue. I like to say, that's the better method of finding nutrition, vitamins, minerals, but we also look for heavy metals. So we're looking for the good guys, the bad guys, and we're trying to balance that out. Um, and so yeah, if we can, my philosophy, our philosophy here at Well Naturally is to supply the body with what it's lacking, the nutritional imbalances, the cellular energy, and also pull out the toxins because we are just bombarded.
Which is a great, I have to seriously, you guys, this woman's brilliance is like, she's the most brilliant person I think I've ever met. And I know I come into you whenever I'm not feeling well. Wendy is my first call now, and I am hoping that there will eventually be a lot more integrative medicine, because a person like me with a serious chronic condition with joint issues that can only be fixed by surgery, but then I have the benefit of Wendy and Well Naturally to help my healing and my overall wellness, which will help all of those other conditions. So, for example, I'll come in with a blood sugar that's off for no reason, and I'm screaming because you know how anal I am about the numbers. And it's always some weird toxin somewhere else. And it's so fascinating to me because you'll do these tests and these things will come up that are often for no lack of information or reason not caught in the Western system, which is more bound by insurance. It's no one's fault. And then we'll remedy it, like you said, and then I'm literally better. And I'll send her pictures of my glucose like 2 days later, like normal. So, it's really quite extraordinary. And you gave me a great segue into my next question, which is about supplementation, which we know is a $1 billion industry. And Dr. Google and Dr. Instagram say, take this thing. I get it all the time. I get a lot of unsolicited health advice, how I need a knee replacement, how I should take cinnamon for my diabetes, this, that, and the other thing, because that's what someone heard, turmeric. But if you don't test well, or even these remedies that people might go buy at CVS could be contraindicated. So, talk to us about muscle testing, what it is, and why it's so important before you start into a supplement to find out if it's even right for you, even something like a vitamin C or things that are quote healthy.
Yeah, yeah, so that's well said, Amy, and so true. And it's fascinating that example you gave, testing for now, and I say testing, let me explain what that means, but checking what an individual needs and what's best for them. I mean, we can talk about two things. One is the quality of the supplements available, because we all have access. We can order something online and have it at our door by 4 a.m. You
Yeah.
know, it's everything is so accessible and available, and that's wonderful. We're grateful, I'm sure. But yeah, the quality. Sometimes you get what you pay for, and the old saying. But certain supplements are still very poor quality, made from coal tar, containing harmful oils, containing harmful sweeteners, just colors and artificial garbage. And there's some of the bigger names that are less expensive and very available. And I just cringe when people walk in with them, because I know that they would probably be healthier if they were not taking these remedies. And then for the more savvy individuals, they may say, well, I know that. I'm not taking that. It's pink color. I know I better not take that. But then they still may not have the advantage of knowing what the better, more available CoQ10 is, or is turmeric something that's good for me, or am I actually kind of sensitive to it and it's causing a little inflammatory response in my body? So we use a technique that's probably my favorite, and it's what I started out with many, many years ago. I learned and was certified in applied kinesiology from Parker Chiropractic College. As one of the many things many tools in my toolbox. And that's probably my favorite, because that has evolved into a different type of muscle response testing.
Mhm.
And with that evaluation, it's again a type of biofeedback where I'm using a strong muscle in the body and making contact with different acupuncture points on the body. And I call them sort of breakers or fuses in the body, where if, a thyroid, for instance, isn't functioning properly, and I make contact with that area, and then ask the individual to hold a certain arm up or leg, or I'll push on a muscle, and where that muscle typically is very strong and resistant, if I make contact with an area where there's imbalance in the energy in the acupuncture point, it's almost as if you blew the fuse in the house, and that muscle becomes weak temporarily. It sounds like a very simple technique, and it really is, but it is so insightful, because I can not only use all these other cool pieces of equipment, but I can get right down to seeing what substances or foods or even toxins, dog hair. Am I allergic to my dog because I don't feel good when I'm in the house, but I feel okay when I'm out? Is there mold in my house that's affecting
Yeah.
me? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we can use this technique along with the other pieces of equipment, technologies that we have to find out what's good for an individual, what's best for the individual, and things they better not touch at all.
Right. And if you don't have access, you're not familiar, as we're all becoming, there's, like you said, there's access to so much information. You can buy anything off the shelf. Is there any way, I guess, for everyday people to start to tell what's better or not better, or,
For sure, for sure.
go for
There are Yeah, yeah. So if we're just talking about quality and purity, definitely. I mean, companies, I work with here at Well Naturally, we work with pharmaceutical grade supplements. What that means is they're not pharmaceuticals, they're not medicine, they're not prescriptions, but they are held to the same criteria, the same standard as pharmaceuticals, meaning they have these supplements have been tested. We know that what the label says is actually what's in that supplement. Whereas, other things, very popular names and brands that
Mhm.
you and I know and see all around town, they may be made in Bob's garage down the street, and there's a little, rat hair in there, and God only knows. Yeah, that's the
Food
extreme. But
dye.
yes, exactly, exactly. So we look for pharmaceutical grade products, and now that it's really cool because we have dispensaries, professional dispensaries that are available, where I can set my clients up for access to a dispensary. So, I like to micromanage. I really like to make sure that you're getting the right supplement. But if you're going to go ahead and just buy a vitamin C because your kid has the sniffles, then I'd rather you get it from a dispensary that carries higher quality, third party tested kind of remedies.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so important because I hear this all the time. I'm taking this, I'm taking that. Why don't you take turmeric? Because I didn't test well for turmeric. What does that mean? So thank you for kind of Clara, everyone's a street doctor now. And you all have so many other modalities that have been game changers for me in terms of managing pain. The PEMF, I want you to explain. We're hearing more and more about the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen, which insurance is starting to cover in specific situations if you have diabetes, this and that for healing. Ozone, I have fortunate to have one at home in term, especially now with cold and flu season. And I don't want to get too much into the COVID thing, but all these remedies are available a lot of the time. And can you just explain a little bit about what PEMF does or the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen for healing, wound healing, feel good? These different
Yeah.
modalities we can use, especially this time of year.
Indeed, yeah. Um, yes, with colds and flus and COVID and everything that's going around, it's it's smart to use all the tools available, especially when it comes to viruses, because what the heck are you going to do? There's no antibiotic that's going to touch that. So our therapies range, but each one, and I'll explain very briefly what they do, but each one, the goal of each one is to increase the healing abilities of the body. And that's a generic statement. What do I mean? I mean, I want your cells, your batteries, your 70 trillion batteries in your body to be humming, vibrating. I want them to be charged up.
Mm,
And literally, it's been proven over time, yoo-hoo, that the cells are like batteries. They literally are. And if you're before you become ill, God forbid, your batteries start to lose their juice, sort of
mm,
like your cell phone, where it doesn't last all day anymore. You got to charge it in the middle of the day. Our cells are just like that, and we can literally charge them up. There are a variety of ways to do that out in nature, walking on the beach, putting your feet in the grass, being in the sunshine. There are many things that we all know are good for us, but we can kick it up a notch, a whole lot of notches. And what the way we charge those cells most effectively, I don't know of another technique that's better than PEMF, what you've mentioned. And that's a magnetic, it's pulsed
mm,
magnetic therapy. It's a therapy that kind of feels like a massage. Your body is sort of nicely contracting. The muscles are getting almost a massage from the therapy. You're laying on a mat, on a bed, or you're sitting in a chair comfortably, and there are different attachments and things that we put on different parts of the body. So if we're just trying to charge up the cells and give your cells more energy, you're sitting in the chair, you're feeling this nice gentle pulsing, and it's relaxing. It's calming the nervous system that most of us are just overdone, overcharged. We're stressed, we're anxious, right? And we can calm that nervous system with certain frequencies of these magnetic pulses. 7.8 hertz is the frequency of the earth, and we can literally deliver that to the body, calming the nervous system while charging up the cells. What does that do for us? Number one, it feels good.
yes.
Yay. Number two, it reduces inflammation and pain. So we know that inflammation is a big problem, for not just because it
Everything.
hurts, right? It is, Amy. And if we can identify the factors that contribute to it and then target it, then we win the game. So if we can charge the cells and give them energy, enable them to better receive nutrients while at the same time eliminating and tossing out the toxins, that's the key. That's the key. And PEMF is one of the best ways I know how to do that. So nervous system, anti-inflammatory. It's FDA approved for healing bones that won't come back together, that won't fuse back together like I, And it's also been shown very effective in clinical studies for the bladder, for incontinence, for things like muscular weakness. So I could again geek out, but those are just a few of the really cool things about PEMF. I love it. It's probably my favorite therapy. We have multiple devices in the office, and I have one at my house as well, which
Yes,
I use
have,
most
I
nights.
have to say, when I started the PEMF, I had no idea. I obviously am managing chronic pain. I have severe osteoarthritis because of my accident, dancer injuries, and I did they're not in a if you have access to it, I am living proof. I have a joke now, that movie, My Greek Wedding, where she takes the Windex and Windex is like every problem. I have a joke now, if something hurts, I just PEMF it, because whether it's my
I love
foot,
it.
whether it's my knee,
Yep.
I was having
Yep.
a situation in the summer and suddenly I was having a hard time walking, which turned out to be an infection, which has now been handled. But I literally put the rings on that thing and I was able to move the next day, even with the infection, because it, like you said, it charges the cell, it gets out the toxins. If my back is hurting, if I have a headache, if I'm feeling depleted, our lymph system, which is, I didn't know about before I met you. So if you have access anywhere to PEMF, find it. If you're in Florida, go to Wendy's. Seriously, I take almost no pain medication, and that is part of the reason why. So it
And
works.
that's a miracle for someone who's been through what you've been through, Amy.
Yeah.
It's
I have Oxy in
that's
my drawer, but I won't take it. They gave it to me. I was actually arguing with the nurse after my last surgery in October because they were trying to send me home, and I said, I'm not going to need it. This was not a big thing. They didn't break any bones. Nothing's been I'm not. She said, no, no, no. I said, really? I'm not going to take it. It was such an interesting, but anyway, yes, it's really extraordinary for all of that. So thank you, because people ask me a lot, and what is it? And the other
yeah.
thing,
And let me say this about PMF. I forgot to mention. There are many devices out there. Again, I sound like such a supplement snob, a therapy snob, but
was true.
PEMF, the gauss, the intensity, the power of the device really makes a difference.
Yeah.
All PEMF is beneficial. I'm never going to say don't do it, but I guess I could just simplify and say if you don't feel this gentle pulsing sensation from your PEMF therapy or mat or device, then you're not getting as much as you could be getting from a higher intensity, more professional PEMF device.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Gauss is important. It reaches the cell when you have a higher Gauss, and I like that. So
Part of the problem of availability. It's not all the same. So
it's true. It's true.
message Wendy, because she knows where
Oh,
to
I
go for everything.
yeah.
That the other thing you guys have that was very helpful, it's helpful all the time. If I don't feel well, I immediately come and get in the hyperbaric chamber. When I was infected post-surgery, I was in there every day. During the lockdown, I came in 3 times a week because your medical facility, you were still able to be open. And um really, it's such a here in New York, there's places where you can get more access now, Restore Hyper Wellness. It's becoming more readily available. And explain a little bit about what the compressed oxygen does for.
Sure, sure. Um, so yeah, let me clarify. There's a medical hyperbaric uh, device that is only available in hospitals and medicals, a few
HSS
medical.
has it now. Yeah.
Say it again.
Hospital for
What'd you
Special
say?
Surgery has it now, I think.
Good. Thank God.
Cornell, one of them.
It,
Maybe it was Cornell, but one of the big hospitals over there has it now.
From what I hear, hyperbaric chambers used to be in many or most of the hospitals, and now the ones that still have them don't use them, and they're supposed to be used for wound healing, and also for, of course, the bends, diving accidents. So there's the medical hyperbaric, which should be prescribed for everyone that has a wound that won't heal, in my opinion. And then there's mild hyperbaric, and it's just a difference in the intensity of the compression, the oxygen compression. So our mild hyperbaric is something that you recline in comfortably.
Mhm.
You lay in there for an hour or two, and you feel like you're in a big round sleeping bag. People get a little jiggy about the saying, "Oh, it looks so scary. It's weird
No,
looking,"
it's not.
but it's not scary. It's comfortable. You're in there, playing with your phone, watching a movie, or taking a snooze. And the benefits of that, and it feels a little like you're going up in the plane, as your ears are adjusting. But the benefits of that compressed oxygen are vast. Healing is improved and quickened. So whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether it's an injury, an accident, a surgery, or a cold or a respiratory issue, whatever that problem is, will resolve faster with oxygen. We know oxygen's important. We can't live very, very long without it. But when you compress it, yeah, when you compress it in an oxygen tank in a hyperbaric chamber, it gets pushed into the body. So where you and I are just breathing here in the environment, we're pulling air in through our nose and our mouth. But in the hyperbaric chamber, I say it's almost as if every body part, every cell is breathing. Everything becomes a lung, so to speak. Everything is pulling oxygen in because it's being pushed in. So even if you aren't breathing as well as you should, you're going to get oxygen into the body. Why is that important? Because where oxygen is increased, illness and disease are diminished, and sometimes eradicated completely. So it's a powerful and very simple therapy that is vastly underused, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yes, it's again amazing and something I did some the other day here in New York just because I'm going to be traveling and I'm feeling good and I want to keep it that way and people around me are getting sick and I thought I'm going to go, which is a segue into my third modality that I love that is lesser known, which is ozone therapy, either by IV, which can be a bit costly, or the treatments that you guys have by insufflation in the ears. There's other ways to do that. So explain what it is and how it's beneficial also for healing, for, disease and virus prevention, treatment, yada yada.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, you're right. It's not as well known, and it's cool and pretty simple.
So cool.
So yeah, we have an ozone generator, and we've sent many clients home with their own generators. And yep, yeah, and the ozone is mixed with oxygen. That's how O3 is created. We know about oxygen is O2, but O3 is ozone, and that's created with oxygen. So it's a gas. And it's delivered to the body, as you said, in a variety of ways. You never deliver it directly in the vein, and we don't do IVs here, but it's delivered in, like you said, in the ears. So you sit there for a couple of minutes with ozone delivered right into the ear canal. It can be delivered into the body rectally and vaginally, which can be done at home with your own device. Why would you want to do that? Again, oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. So when you oxygenate the body, it can kick out I don't want to go into studies and statistics, but there is so much data to support each of the therapies that I'm talking about. But eradicating illness and crisis illness, and I'll not mention any viruses in particular, but there are
A few.
there is yeah, there is so much benefit, I'll just say that, and power to adding oxygen to the body in a variety of ways. So we compress it in the hyperbaric chamber, we push it in gently but effectively, and then we deliver it through other methods, other insufflation techniques with the gas. And then, as you said, it can be delivered into an IV, into the bag of whatever the solution is you're receiving, and that goes in the vein. But the cool thing is, and as you said, it's a little costly and it requires a needle and an IV and time and all that. To have your own generator at home or receive a therapy here, it takes about 3 sessions with the ozone generator to equal the power, the effectiveness of putting it, into the IV bag. So it's pretty wonderful. And yeah, the variety of illnesses that are addressed, we don't and maybe this is a good time to say, we're not medical doctors here. We do not cure disease. We do not treat disease. We never adjust anyone's
Right,
medications.
right.
And we don't claim that we're not allowed to claim that any of these therapies are to be used in place of standard medical treatments. But it just makes a good bit of sense to me to use every tool we can. And again, I'm grateful that you're getting the word out, Amy, and letting people know that there are options. So this ozone therapy is available to use at home or here at Well Naturally.
Well, I know well, backtrack. I'm glad you said that about one of the things I really appreciate about you. I've seen some really crazy naturopath. Nothing's all good or all bad. There's extremes of everything. And I've seen some of the extremes in the holistic side as well. Like, stop, you do not do that. You're very middle of the road. You do not diagnose. I mean, you've had conversations with my doctors. You've messaged with my doctors, you get reports from my doctors, you send reports. So this integration is what's so beautiful about it, to be able to support whatever. If you're someone like me who has a chronic condition that's on certain medications, it's not about stopping that or you would be
Mm,
surprised what people say to me. You're gonna get off your insulin. I said, I have type 1 diabetes. Like,
mm,
I don't
mm,
think so. Now I am taking less insulin than I ever have, but I love that you are so integrated with the Western systems. This is what makes it so amazingly effective. And to the ozone, when I got it at home and I started doing it every day, because I'm super type A, I'm very anal about these things. And you said actively earlier, it takes effort. It takes work, it takes persistence. It doesn't change overnight. We didn't get to this state of chronic illness overnight. We're not going to unravel it overnight. But
mm,
I was shocked at the change in my energy because I've struggled with fatigue and chronic fatigue and different things for different reasons. And I said, wow, I got through the whole day and I didn't need a nap. And even here in New York now, I'm able to do more and I'm not thrashed after 2 days. So, again, it's just my personal testimony. It's something you have to try out, find it, call them, which is a segue into my next big topic. I could have you here all day because I just want the world to know about Wendy. But so let's talk about nutrition and
yeah,
the fact that our grocery stores are killing us. This is becoming more and more uh, a much bigger conversation right now, which I'm very grateful for from a lot of Western MDs who are functional medicine doctors who are doing this integrative work. Um, the grab it foods, the sugar, the carbohydrate. You mentioned inflammation earlier, which to my understanding is the root of most dis-ease. I get of people coming to me, they've got this pain, that pain, this rash situation. Oh, but I didn't test for any allergies. And I am not certified. I'm a certified trainer. That's it. I'm a dancer girl. I always refer them to you, and then they're eating bread. And so it's not a judgment, but talk about sort of your nutritional ideology and why that's so important. As you know, I do very strict keto. My A1C is pre-diabetic. That's a 3-month glucose test, which my endocrinologist they're all baffled. But
yeah, it's unheard of.
I really, once in a while, I verge, but it's like 4% of the time. It's not a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
explain the importance of the food in terms of inflammation specifically. I see people with joint pain, obesity. If you're carrying that much weight, your organs, it's like I told someone once, it's like a car. If you have a car that needs unleaded or electrically charged and you give it diesel, what do you
Mm-hmm.
expect?
Yeah,
So share, I
chug
know
chug.
yeah.
Yeah, that's well said and so true. And probably the toughest thing to help people with, the toughest conversation, because there are so many different
Mhm.
theories, ideas, and beliefs. And it starts to get really personal with the way we grew up and how did we eat when we grew up and the emotional
Yeah.
components and the holidays. And there's so much involved there. And eating disorders and just it's a big topic. However, yeah.
Had that
Oh,
too.
yeah,
Survived.
check.
Was
Oh,
in inpatient treatment. Yeah,
yeah.
went down that
Oh,
road.
Amy. And you're a rock star now with food, really, because people say, well, just now and then I'm gonna have something. And now and then is can lead to, uh-oh, now
Yeah.
I'm right back in my addiction, whatever that is. So yeah, I found over time, and I'm not here to promote or bash any
You've done it
diet.
all. You've tried it all.
I have. Yeah, so
All of
yeah, I
it.
have. I didn't just get judgy and pick one camp. I lived in multiple camps to see and to experiment. So yeah, I'll just go there. I was formerly for probably 20 years eating a raw food vegan diet. Um, and it just made sense to me. It seemed right for the planet, for the animals, for me, and for my clients. And so I was wholeheartedly promoting that, living that, and teaching that. And there were some benefits. I'm not going to say, you can't be a healthy individual as a vegan, but it's tough. It's tough to be healthy as a vegan completely in all areas. So anyway, fast forward, I was noticing that blood sugars and this A1C that you mentioned, which is an average of 3 months worth of blood sugars, a number that gives us a whole lot of insight and probably is the most important number that I like to see for my clients because it tells me a lot about how they're eating, how their bodies are
It's the
metabolizing. So
truth.
yeah, yeah, it is the truth. Exactly, exactly. So anyway, I was noticing that my clients and myself, blood sugars were going up. And I didn't like that. And with elevated blood sugars come every other bad thing that you don't want. Inflammation and every illness, cardiovascular issues, arterial issues, um, uh, arthritis, and even brain issues. And they're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. So the brain is greatly affected when it's just marinating in too much sugar. And it's tough. It's tough for us. The way we're marketed to the foods that are available, our lifestyles, it ain't easy. I'm not saying it is. And lovingly and patiently, but firmly, I have transitioned. I should say I did a total turnaround, a
Yeah,
180,
you
because
did.
now, whoa,
I know you.
I did, and that was tough. And I did it myself first. I knew my clients were going to think you're nuts and what's going on, and you just contradicted yourself. But after really digging deep, I'm a researcher. I love to research, but what's on paper and what's in studies is only a portion of what I'm going to go by. I'm going to experiment on myself, and I did, and I was delighted with what I was seeing. And then family members were trying a different approach. And what is that different approach? It's cutting back on carbohydrates, sugars, and of course, all the other artificial colors and artificial ingredients. We all know we shouldn't be doing that. And then focusing also on getting the bad oils out of our lives. I don't think most of us understand the impact, the damage that those oils, seed oils,
Yeah.
corn oils and canola oils and trans fats, and these literally are proven to cause heart disease, but they also cause damage to the cells and inflammation and all kinds of horrific things. So if we can reduce the seed oils, if we can reduce the carbohydrates, the foods that cause an elevation in glucose in the body, if we can do this, and most of us have heard this isn't new information, but I guess I want to drive home the point at how impressive and radically different an individual will feel, look, and act when they do this. Yeah, it's dramatic, right?
I've been since high school. And I also want you to touch on the point. So, this is what happens to me as a person with diabetes. You can't have the cake, have some fruit.
Mm.
Actually, if I'm gonna go down that road, the cake is probably better because it has some fat and some butter. And don't do any of it, but if you're in a whatever, if you're gonna go there. So when we say, oh, I don't eat sugar, and then someone orders a glass of pineapple juice, or, well, I'm gonna have fruit, or it's carbohydrate is, it all breaks, and this is where your expertise is very helpful because to my limited understanding, I'm not a doctor, the no matter the source, and I'm not talking about nutritional value, it all breaks down the same as carbohydrate and what it does to your cells. Some of it may have more nutritional component, but for me, the fruit or the pie is going to cause the same elevation of my blood sugar, right? Am I
And
off track
yeah,
here?
and no, you're right on, and you
Because I
know
think,
because
oh,
you
this is
see your blood
good. I'm eating
sugar.
fruit. I'm being good. I'm like,
Yeah, and you listen, Amy,
oh,
you're an expert at this because you live it. You see your blood sugars 24/7. You know, if I eat this fruit, this is what's going to happen. If I eat this cake or pie, this is what's going to happen. And most of us don't know that. And most of us don't feel poorly right
immediate.
after eating that cake
Yeah.
or that pie. We feel fine. We're happy. Yay. And we don't realize the storm that's going on inside. So you're absolutely right. Fruit, it depends on the individual, depends on the situation, depends on the health crisis or, what their diagnosis is. But
The
we
glycemic
take some
index. Yeah.
as far as the glycemic tolerance, your
Mhm.
carbohydrate tolerance. Everybody's got a different tolerance, and Rebecca Weiner, who is a crucially important part of our practice here, is such a great support for helping individuals. There it is. That's
There's
how
my
you know
feed.
what your blood sugar is at all times.
103.
Woo! You're funny.
Don't look at that up and down line today. I got a little off. I got the time got away from me. I'm sorry. That's anyway. I
But
divulged.
yes, and that's so helpful. We love having people use glucose monitors, which are available. And I was saying Rebecca is such a great help to, yeah, exactly. That's what Amy has on. She's attached to, if you don't mind me sharing, you've got a device on your body that's painless, and it is literally telling you what your glucose is at all times. And this is something that's available not just, there it is, ta-da! And that just has adhesive on there, and it's collecting data all the time, and that's available for people who aren't type 1 diabetics, and it should be available for everybody so that you get the feedback to know, oh, nuts, I just ate almond flour because I thought I was eating keto, and uh-oh, that just really spiked my blood sugar, and yikes, now
Why
I
that
don't,
happened to me when we really were making this transition. I was already doing low carb, but you were talking about the vegetables even, and I was started to really pay attention after I ate like certain vegetables, and I thought, holy moly, like I didn't realize, the starchier vegetables or so it's so, and I'm very carbohydrate sensitive, which again, it's very case specific, but even that, now I say I'm keto cheating, I'm eating spinach, and people look at me like I'm nuts. But
it's your big treat.
yeah, even that I noticed started to uptick me, and I stopped because
Mm.
it's supposed to be healthy.
Yeah, well, and it may have been the carbohydrate in the vegetable, whatever that vegetable is, or it could be one of the plant toxins that are in there, and that's a whole topic that we probably won't go to get
Yeah,
into
we don't,
today. But
that's a separate podcast.
yeah, but there are some individuals that everybody has a different tolerance, like you said, and with that monitor that you wear on your arm, that glucose monitor, we can see what your responses are. And that with that A1C, we can monitor over time how you're doing. But some people, even those with gut issues, with intestinal, Crohn's and
Mm.
colitis and irritable bowel, and some of those people don't realize that it is the vegetables that's messing them up. So for your listening audience, they're probably thinking, well, what the heck is left? What am I supposed to eat? And yeah, again, we can get into the weeds another time if you like, but some individuals, we bring them right down to a carnivore diet. No vegetables for now, no fruits for now. And yeah, it's meat and eggs and cheese and butter. And There's more to eat, and there are more varieties of things that you can make with those
Rebecca is a dream
ingredients.
with that. Yeah. And can you
That's
share a little
sure.
bit? So I was having this conversation with a close friend whose doctor had talked to him. He's also in his 50s. A cholesterol, suddenly everyone said, well, if I just start eating, it's from bacon. So can you share your ideas about, again, to my understanding, having started to research this, it's the inflammation of the cells, but
Mm,
I'm not a doctor. I'm not, because people say, well, then what am I? I'm going to waste away because my cholesterol is going up. I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack. So, how does this parlay if you're saying go carnivore? My cholesterol is actually better than ever
mm, that's awesome.
on nothing
And that
but meat and dairy strict.
is right. It just
Can you
most people
explain
would.
that a little bit for the people who are worried about, well, I have high cholesterol, I can't eat those things.
Sure. And again, this lifestyle is a healthy, it's these are healthy recommendations we're making for you. Will biochemistry change in your body? It better. Otherwise, why are we doing it? So
Right.
what do we see change? We'll we'll see changes in, sometimes we'll just see a change in the LDL. And that's what everybody gets all crazy about and gets upset about. So backing up, I would say, first things first, let's know more about the type of fats that are in your blood. And this is where I get a little frustrated because my clients come in with blood work and I look at it, and before they even come, I'm prepared and ready. And they say, oh, my LDL is too high, my LDL is too high. And I say, well, where are the other readings? Well, did your doctor run any other more advanced lipid panel on you to know what's going on? And so we don't always see those numbers. And here at Well Naturally, we like to order those labs. And I have colleagues, medical doctors, nurse practitioner colleagues, and we will collaborate, as you said earlier. But yeah, I want to know more about that LDL. LDL just tells me there's fat in the blood. I want to know, are there enzymes that are elevated that are telling me you could be more likely to have heart difficulties? Are there particle sizes that are the wrong, that are too small and that could potentially clog or clot? And you mentioned, Amy, and that's good. I'm glad you brought it up, that cholesterol isn't the enemy. Cholesterol isn't the problem. So number one, we need to know more about the fats in your blood, because fat is good. Fat in the blood, fat in the brain, fat it's important to the
Join.
joints, the hormones. Yeah. So we need fat. We don't want to reduce all the fat in your body. We just want the bad fats to go down. And LDL just by itself doesn't tell us a lot. But cholesterol is a patch, it's spackle. If there's injury, as you said, inflammation in an artery, damage in an artery, irritation in an artery, then what comes to resolve that problem, that sore, that irritation, is cholesterol. Cholesterol isn't the enemy. Cholesterol came to fix a problem. So it lays down inside the arterial wall, and then over time it can become a problem. That spackle can start to break off and become problematic. But it didn't show up because it is not in and of itself the problem. The sugar is the problem. And that the sugar, the things that turn into sugar in our bodies, the elevated sugars in our blood, that's what causes irritation, inflammation in the arterial walls. And there's so much data and information out there, you guys, from medical doctors who previously, just like myself, were eating vegan, promoting all plants, and finally said, wait a minute, this doesn't add up, and started looking at the research and changing their patients over, like I have with my clients, and seeing dramatic changes. So anyway, I went off there on a little tangent, but
Glad
it's
you
it's
did because it
important.
comes up a lot. Um,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. I know I could be here all day with you, but again, for someone who, if you are in Florida and you have access to Wendy, you need to like right now, like text them. We'll give you their number and go see her immediately because if your life doesn't change, I'll pay for your visit. Seriously. I mean, this woman is beyond. But if you don't have access, or this isn't covered by insurance, and that is definitely another podcast. Don't even get me started on the insurance thing. I have to jump through hoops of fire to get my insulin from Medicare.
Mm, mm,
I really want to join this train with this. I don't want to get political here. So, what can an everyday person who's in pain, who's struggling, who wants to make some dietary changes, like we sit down at a meal, the first thing they do is put down a basket of bread. I have literally seen people, and it's not a judgment. Like, I don't care what you eat, do whatever you want to do, but eat a basket of bread and then complain that they're sleepy and they don't feel well, or call me the next day because they're in pain. Do I have a physical therapist? And I want to
mm.
scream. So, if someone is starting to want to make some adjustments and they're not able to come see you, or it's out of a price range or whatever, what are a couple of basic recommendations for everyday people that they could start now to start to feel better?
Yeah. Um, so I would suggest at least scheduling a call. Everybody's situation is different. Every single situation is different. And I so wish, honestly, I do, wish that I could just say, take these few remedies,
I know.
um, do this, step one, two, three, and it will work for everybody. It would make my life so much easier. It would make all of our lives easier, but it never is quite that simple. So, without trying to sound evasive, I would say schedule a call and let's talk about your situation because everybody is so individual,
Yeah.
so specifically different than the next guy. But dietary changes, if you made that one change and there's
That's what I was
information, again, we
hoping
can
you would
find,
say.
yeah, if I could get everybody to change their diet, their need for supplements, their need for therapies, their need for detoxification techniques would be drastically diminished. The food, it's the food, it's the food, it's the food. And I said earlier, it's the hardest thing to get people to consider and to change. But if you ask me what's the main thing to get people to change, it's the food. And we can guide you with that. Rebecca is a coach here and she can help to guide you at a long distance, for those who don't live here. The other thing I would say is we can schedule time, and we have a very extensive questionnaire. But in addition to that, we take hair samples from an individual, schedule an appointment, send us your hair sample, and we will do this bioenergetic test on you, this bioscan. And we do it for animals too,
I
side
meant to
note,
say
but
that. Yes,
yeah.
if you have, for the animal lovers like me, and I'm totally interrupting you, when
That's
I
okay.
had my cat and anything was off, I immediately, and they gave her remedies and she got better. So it's the same, yeah, Robin, they do for the animals because their systems get off as well. And the food and the things, it's a similar toxicity kind of thing. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Robin loves taking, she loves animals, she loves
Her
rescues.
babies. Yeah.
My business, she does all the testing for the animals and we've seen some wonderful results. But yeah, some people fly in, we live on beautiful Singer Island here
Yes,
and
you do.
practices here on Singer Island and it's lovely. So some will fly in, stay in a hotel and come see us for a couple days in a row. But we'll take care of you. Just call us and we'll help guide you. Yeah.
Their information, where can we find you? Wellnaturally.com.
Wellnaturally.com. We're on Instagram. I don't know just go to wellnaturally.com.
Yeah, well,
Everything's there. Phone
naturally now.
number
Talk
and
to Rebecca. Tell her I sent you. Wendy, I could be here all day with you. Seriously, you guys, this woman has literally saved my life in so many ways. I'm just, I seriously, when we started this podcast, you were Wendy. I'm gonna get Wendy. The world needs to know Wendy Johnson. So, if you
thanks,
are
Wendy.
enjoying Creating Victory podcast, please subscribe, share, download. Amy Jordan speaks on social, and enjoy, create victory with your health and your life. That's why we're here. And hopefully, some of this has been helpful and inspirational. Wendy, I love you. I will see you soon.
Yeah, love
And
you.
you guys, as we say here, get over it, make it happen. That's what we do.